To help the charity Red Sea Sharks, which organise Project Shark in the Maldives along with Blue 2, I've decided to help them out by coming out with a range of Project Shark t-shirts, which you can buy from my Teespring store. And as with my Seahorse initiative for the Seahorse Trust, 100% of the profits will go to that charity. So if you'd like to support shark research in the Red Sea, please buy some merch so their work can continue. Okay, so I've just finished the series of videos on my Maldives trip from Gan or Adu City up to Kooddoo, called the Project Shark Experience, run in conjunction with Red Sea Sharks with Dr. Elka, who, her knowledge is amazing. Although she primarily studies oceanic whitetips in the Red Sea, her knowledge of sharks in general is just incredible. And from the 4 presentations, I learned a hell of a lot. So, it's time for the review. So I've come up with the star rating system for my reviews, because when you think about it, if I give 5 out of 10, no one's going to go on a 5 out of 10 boat. So I've come up with this 5-star rating system. 1 star is between 50 to 60%, 2 stars 60 to 70, 3 stars 70 to 80, 4 stars is 80 to 90, and 5 stars is 90 to 100%. Obviously it's going to be very, very difficult to get 100%, so anything above 90 will be a 5-star rating. So that'll make it nice and simple, quickly for you to have a look, so you can have a quick look at that. Now, my reviews are personal to me, right? And my review is just for that trip, right? So don't take it as cast in stone, because each trip can be different. You could have a different crew, you could have a different cruise director. So this is just my review, and it's really marks out of 10 on the aspects that are important to me on the boat. So don't jump onto Blue Voyager in the Maldives and expect it'll be the same. Some things will be better, some things will be worse. But hopefully this review kind of gives you an idea of what to expect. So let's kick off with the crew. On any liveaboard, for me, the most important thing is the crew. Because if you haven't got a good crew, a happy crew, a professional crew, everything else just falls away. So the crew on Blue Voyager on my trip were absolutely first class. 10 out of 10. Always smiling, always helpful, couldn't do enough for you. So for me, they couldn't have bettered it. So a big fat 10 out of 10 for that. Crew have got to be motivated, and they've got to be managed. So as equally important is what Blue 2 call the cruise director. And Roy, our cruise director, who also came on nearly every dive, so he's managing the boat, he's dealing with his head office, he's dealing with everything, and then he still comes and dive guides. What an amazing man. I mean, again, he couldn't do enough to help you. Anything you wanted, if he could do it, he would. You know, last time I was on Blue Voyager in the Maldives, I think it was 2019, cruise director wasn't so great, and actually I thought I'd never go back. But anyway, I did go back, and I was very pleased. So for Roy, the cruise director, 10 out of 10. When you dive the Maldives in these can be difficult conditions, weather can be stormy, you've got fast drifts through channels. I found the dive guiding on this trip extremely good. They didn't have a full complement of dive guides. It was Roy and a dive guide called Elson, and Elke as well would dive guide when we were with sharks. But you know, very well done. We didn't miss a spot, we didn't miss a dive. It wasn't so great last time I was on Blue Voyager, but we were only 12 people. When you're listening to everything I review, bear in mind this boat takes 24 or 26 people. We were 12, so we were lucky. So this review is in that context. So anything I talk to you about, and that, just think, would it be the same if there was 26 or 24 divers on board? Now we get on to some of the not so good stuff. Selection and quality of dive sites was pretty good all around. And I've only given it a 6 though. Why I've only given it 6 out of 10? Because, you know, we'd go back to the day 2 and 3 diving, were exactly the same sites. And on day 3 I couldn't do, I could have done it, but I didn't want to go back and do the Tiger Zoo experience right at Can Dive. You've seen that in the videos I'm not going. So, you know, when I go on a liveaboard, unless they're exceptional sites, I don't want to do them twice. But no, I don't know why. Maybe they weren't trying to conserve fuel because there are only 12 people on board. That's a good enough excuse, but tell the people. And that brings me around to another gripe, is why can't we have a dive itinerary? I know things change. I know weather changes. I know you may have an instant, but please, when we book, let us have an outline dive itinerary with the normal get out of jail clauses which say this is subject to weather and da-di-da-di-da. Right, so that's why. Only 6 out of 10. You know, try harder. Airfills, that's another gripe. So on the first briefing, the boat considers anything above 185 bar a full fill. You'd get lynched in a dive shop if you gave someone 185 bar. But the fills were pretty consistent at 200 bar. But the tanks are 207. Why don't you fill to 207 bar? You know, we use a lot of air on these dives. We go deep, long duration. I paid for a 15 litre. If I pay for a 15 litre steel, I want it filled to its working pressure, which is normally 228 or 232 bar. I don't want to be having just 200 bar in it, right? I want a full fill. So because they were consistent at 200, I've been quite generous on the score, and I've given a 7. Let's talk about food. For me, food was pretty good, a reasonable choice. A bit too much fried food and a bit too many basic carbs for my liking. But there were lots of salads, reasonable variety, but I just feel they could have done a bit better. It's very subjective. Another gripe is not enough fresh fruit. We had one group on our boat who would just get there at the start of the meal and take all the fruit, pile up their plates, and then go for their main course. And nothing was done about it. That could have been solved by either talking to the group concerned or putting fruit on the table, say 4 platters of fruit for these people, and nothing was done about that. On a positive note, I think vegetarians wouldn't have much trouble with the food. Lots of vegetarian options, and I'm pretty sure vegans would be okay as well. I did speak to Roy, the cruise director, about vegan food. He said the biggest problem we've got is milk. He said we try and get oat or almond milk, and usually we're successful. But I think vegans also okay. If you did want anything special, there was a lady who didn't want chicken, so she got fish all the time. Me, I don't want to kind of ask every time because I don't want this, I don't want that. I'll just look at what's there and take it. But yeah, the food was okay. The chef was very good. So yeah, give it 7. Could be possibly an 8, but I'm just going to give it a 7. Cabins. I like the cabins. I think some of you have seen the cabins on my reviews. They're a bit old, a bit dated, but they're in good shape. I like them. Why do I like them? The bathroom's nice and big. The heaps of storage space. Just one improvement I would like to see there, because if you're sharing a cabin with another person and they get on before you, they can hog all the storage space and take all the best storage space. Why can't signs be put on shelves and cupboards, guest 1, guest 2, and then that stops anyone feeling hard done by? Just a small point. And when I've been on twice now, last time I had a cabin to myself because there was only 12 people. The time before I shared with a really nice American guy, so it wasn't an issue. But there are selfish people in the world, yeah. But I've given the cabins an 8, and that's only because, oh, the other thing was, I don't like the bedding arrangement. It's an oversized sheet and then some sort of blanket, and it's not made up. You've got to make it, but it's just difficult. I'd rather have a made up bed. So because of that, I'm giving them an 8. But you won't be disappointed with the cabins. Safety, extremely good. I'm only going to give it a 9 though, and the reason for that is what I'm going to come to next, because I put oxygen as separate. So they lost the point because of the oxygen kit, but briefings fantastic. Everything was well thought out. I didn't feel in danger or that they did anything dangerous at any point during the trip, and that is completely different to my last trip on Blue Voyager in the Maldives, where one person got bent who in my opinion should have not got bent had the cruise director been more professional. Yeah, the oxygen equipment, it's okay. It works. There's lots of oxygen. There's a portable kit if you need to transport someone. They have an emergency plan with the Maldives Navy. Sorry, I've just got a helicopter coming over. It's not coming to pick me up, so there'll be a little bit of noise. They've got a plan with the Maldives Maldives Navy to evacuate people to chambers, because the chambers in the south are. So I was very impressed with that. But I've only given it a 7. And why is that? The 3 oxygen cylinders that are there, and they've got spare oxygen. There's 3 rigged up with regulators. One's a small one, similar to the Marinox, and they've got 2 big J cylinders which have 47 litres, and they come with 130 bar, and then they boost them to the working pressure of the cylinder, which is 200, which is good. But I just thought the masts weren't in as good a condition as they were, and they weren't ready to receive a second casualty, say on the DHONI or on the small oxygen cylinder or the big one. The facility was there to have a constant flow, so I'd have liked the demand valve mast to be in a bit better condition, bit newer condition, and I would like to have a constant flow immediately available, because sometimes you've got a casualty. You could have 2 casualties if they did the same dive, and also sometimes you've got a casualty, his body's done exactly the same profile, so as a precaution you may want to get him on oxygen. I've given it a 7, and the reason I've given it a 7, those of you that are regular subscribers know I'm really onto oxygen. You know, I think it's one of the best things that a diving operation, a dive operator, a dive boat owner should have in the event there is a diving emergency. So yeah, maybe I was a bit harsh, but I've given it a 7. But don't think they can't take care of you, because they can. They've plenty of oxygen, the kit works, they showed me it works, so I've just been a little bit harsh because I expect better. Booking and admin, I'll give that an 8, because I've been a bit too harsh. And the reason I was harsh, there's a lot of paperwork to fill in. This time I did notice I could download the forms and fill them in before I went. Otherwise, the last time I was absolutely dog-tired, and then we've got to fill in all these forms on the boat. What I would like to see, and I don't think is unreasonable, that all the forms, the liability releases, all of that, you complete online and put an e-signature. So you haven't got to print stuff out, you haven't got to fill it in, all of that. Blue 02, if there's a reason you can't do that, just put it in the comments below. I'll give you 8. I'll give you 8 on that one. Condition of the boat, 8. And the only reason I'm putting condition of the boat is because it's over 15 years old. It looks well maintained. So, but you know, it could be a little bit better. And it's only an age-related issue, maybe something to refit. But having said that, you know, I didn't see anything dangerous. Everything worked. The relaxation areas are fantastic. I didn't like the fact that the smoking area is immediately outside the Sky Lounge, so that's kind of knocked a point off. You know, why do we have to even be close to smoke in this day and age? So yeah, the boat's just a bit dated, that's all, relative to other boats that you could go on in the Maldives. So an 8. And finally, the DHONI diving. I love DHONI diving, but it's got to be done right. And Blue Voyager, just knock it out of the park. Great captain, great crew, get you on the spots, pick you up, know where you are. In fact, I had a dive, I sat out a dive. Oh, I'll come back to the admin. I've just remembered one thing why I was a bit brutal with them. Sorry about that. I had to sit out a dive. Well, I sat out 2 dives in the end, and I'll tell you about that. So I'm going to go back to a 7 for admin because I've just remembered. And I just saw the DHONI cap. He knew where the divers were all the time. You know, he was just. And when the first delayed DSMB came up, boom, he was on it. He was right there. So yeah, very professional. 10 out of 10, guys. Let's go back to the admin and why I was annoyed. I keep asking for a dive itinerary. I keep harping on about it. I'm sorry. But guess what? On the last day, they'd booked me on a flight, which meant I couldn't do the last dive. But I could have gone on a later flight because I was spending the next day, and some people were booked on a later flight. So that's just carelessness. You know, you want to maximise your diving when you're on the boat, right? So it annoyed me so much that I thought, well, I'm not going to go and just do 1 dive tomorrow. There's only 2 dives on the last day because my kit will get wet, and I'll just get all my kit. And I do get like that, and it was just upsetting. So yeah, that's why admin 7 out of 10. You know, I get it that sometimes the flights don't align, but there were flights available. An Australian lady who was diving on the boat was on a later flight, so there were flights available. So yeah, why should we lose a dive just because someone can't be bothered in the office back in London? Well, let's tot up all the numbers. And so there was 11 points, comes to 89, so we divide that by 11, comes to 8.09, or let's say 8.1, 81%. So under my star system, remember, 50 to 60 is 1 star, 60 to 70 is 2 stars, 70 to 80 is 3 stars, 80 to 90% is 4 stars, and above 90%, or 9 out of 10, it becomes a 5-star review. They just scraped in at 4 stars because of a few things they could do better. I did let them know, or the cruise director know, I was going to do a review, and he did say, what do you think? I said, well, I think we'll come in at around 80%, 8 out of 10. I hadn't even thought of the categories at this stage, and you see it did come in. I haven't messed around with the numbers, it's just the way it worked out, so that was a pretty good guess, and he said he would be happy with that. But I think you can see there are a few small things which could be improved, which would improve their score tremendously, maybe even get them up to a 5-star rating. As I said, I'm back on Blue Voyager next week. I think there'll be more people on this one because it took me a while to get my place confirmed, so that suggests there's more people. Let's see how many people are on board and how it works with a bigger complement of divers. Subscribe if you want to see that review, and I'll see you next time.